So here you can see we're just getting the key set up in the vise. Obviously I've sped the video up a little bit, but yeah, it's got little dimples on there that I've put in so it lines up with the holes. I know exactly where to cut. You can use a pen to make your mark on them. After that, all you do is you get your files out. I've got little diamond files. I've got one with quite a large triangle section on it to get the deep cuts. You've got one that's a little bit shallower, just so you can even it out nicely and the pins will move up and down, and then one that's even shallower to get the final shape of where the pins will sit. In there they're all threaded in the car. You can see it's all empty, so you put the key in, put your pins in, and you can see where they're high or low in some cases, but you can see where they're high. You keep checking it against that, and then you once it sits flush with the car, you pop it in the lock and just see if it spins freely. As you can see here, you just file away, file them down. This isn't the greatest bits for the lock. These are quite a shallow cups on the key. But it's just to give you an idea of what you actually do. If you use longer pins, they'll go further down into the key, and then it can make it, especially if you're picking, it can make it a lot more difficult. So what you can see here is me putting the pins in and just seeing if the lock will rotate, which it doesn't, so it means that I go down a little bit more. You just check eye level, you can see that it's spinning, so we know that that's alright. We'll put the top pins in as well, just to make sure I haven't cut it too deep, because if you cut it too deep, the top pins will fall into the gap and it also won't work, so you've got to get it pretty spot on. So here I'm just filing down a bit of the actual key pin, just to make sure that it's nice and rounded over, and it works quite smoothly. So next you put the pin 2 in and you set about the next mark on the key. As you can see, so you want to get the point in straight away, the deep point, just to get the depth right, and then you use the other files to refinish it and smooth it out so the key will actually move up and down properly. Once again, take key out and just check, so I've still got quite a bit to go. I'm using the flatter triangle one now, and it just shapes it a bit nicer with the pins coming up and down. You can see on the key on this one, with it being a longer pin, it needs to go deeper than the first cut. Like I say, for picking, ideally at the front, the first one, especially if you're doing channel locks, you want the first one to be a really low pin. It makes it difficult to get your pick round and actually get the next one up really high. Also, the more the pins move up and down, means more of your cuts on the pins. They'll interact with the threads in the car and give you more feedback and make you think it's set when it's not. This third one was quite a high cut, so you didn't need much on it. You can see the different angles I'm going on it. It just makes the sometimes it makes it easier to get through the key. Also takes off any sharp edges. On the edge of key where you got your cuts that go in and out on the sides, because you're filing down them, you can get little bits of metal sticking out, so you can go along the side of key and that brings them off. Just a constant thing of checking what's actually going on with key, on with pins, making sure they go to the right heights, and then going back to filing. I think the third pin was actually quite a short one, and it didn't actually need anything doing to it. We're just moving on to last ones. You can see on the key there already there's not much up and downness on it. If you look at your own keys, you'll see some that probably medium, some that probably very shallow, and then you'll always normally have quite a deep cut on it. It's just kind of a anti-picking feature. Also means you can't what they call rake them open. If they're all roughly the same height, often you can put the key in, put a rake pick in, and just pull it straight open with fairly any skip at all. So having quite a lot of different cuts eliminates that. So here I'm just gonna pop all my pins into the lock so I can put key in and just make sure it works, see if anything's interfering or in the way. I know you guys can't see here, there's not really much of an angle I can get that you could see. But the metal piece I'm using through it, I bought off one of the Facebook's groups. He makes titanium, what they call followers. He just push them through, that's really good quality. And it's solid titanium. Another one of those where I'm trying to put the pins in whilst I'm videoing, and obviously I end up dropping a pin on a grey carpet and trying to find them again. And there we go, push the car through. So we're just checking on the key that it does actually spin. It's a little bit fiddly, but it does actually work. Obviously once you've put the key in and out quite a lot, it will round the edges on the key off. And that just makes it a bit more worn and torn and a bit more usable. When you do file them off or make a key yourself, the edges can be quite sharp. When you go to a key cutting place, they've got a wire wheel and that just takes the sharp edges off and rounds them over. I think here at one point I turned the actual lock upside down and all the pins fell out. So now we're going to set about getting the padlock back together. It's definitely a lot more finicky than the actual car where the key goes. So this does take a little bit of time. You've got to get this little ball bearing on this bit and then a metal rod. I think it's just a metal rod on this bit. No, yeah, ball bearing and metal rod in this back bit. And you've got to get it in a certain orientation or else it just doesn't work. So yeah, very, very finicky, and it's just a lot of time consuming, but just to get it together, it's really not the most exciting part of building locks. And obviously here I dropped another bit of it because, you know, why not? So yeah, it's a little bit different from some of the other padlocks I've done. This one definitely wasn't the most fun to put back together. So once you got the ball bearing and the metal, it's almost like a spacer in, you put the brass mechanism in the back. What this bit has is it's circular, but then it's got a cutout. On that cutout section, that's where the rod can drop down and you can actually open the lock when it's rotated in the other direction, and it's got the circular section facing up. It's completely solid, so it's a complete mechanical mechanism. There's not a spring in the way or anything like that, so you can't shim it and it will not open. I know I'm facing the wrong way here. It's purely just for the light to try and see which way it needs to be rotated. It does take me a couple of attempts to actually get this correct. Like I say, it's so fiddly. It's just gotta keep trying. When I do get sorted and I've got a spare room, I will be setting up a workbench just for my locks in general, and hopefully maybe either get a head cam, use that so you get a bit more of a point of view. This is me contemplating life in why I even started this. But yeah, it happens. But yeah, once I get my own like workbench I can do this on, can make more challenge locks, send out to the lock picking community. I've got a few out there already, but I do want to get more involved in it. These shutter locks, because of the simple construction of them, fairly simple anyway, they're really good for, especially when I pull them out of a canal like this one, really good for being able to be taken apart. Like I say, there's so many different cores that'll fit them. If any of them are ever beyond repair, it's easy enough to find another or some out of other locks that might fit and just put it back in use. Like I said, I quite enjoy cutting the keys, quite enjoy putting them back in use. I've had a couple I've been given over the years. I've been able to pick open, keys have been lost or whatever. Been able to pick open, cut a key, or even if I've got a car that already has a key, and make it work. So there we go, everything's in. So you put the second ball bearing in, there's a spring behind that, and that sits above the car. That's the bit that when you pull the shackle open and it stops after a certain point, that's the bit that keeps the shackle in place what you can see there is the back of the car has a line on. You have to line that with a brass rod at the back, and that's what turns the mechanism. And then there's a shield that goes over the front that the key goes through, and that stops like that bit there. It's an anti-drill feature, so it stops you being able to just drill the car out, drill all the pins out, and being able to force it open. So you put that in, there's an hole at top at lock that a grub screw will go through, which I appear to have misplaced. So you put that in, and that holds the front shield in place. When the shackle's on the lock, you can't get to that grub screw, and obviously you can't take the shackle out because normally they're locked. So when you remove the shackle, you can get to the grub screw. When you can get the grub screw out, you can get basically the lock out. But there you go, everything's all lined up. The key does work, but what I found is I've bought the wrong key blank. So the key blank fits in the lock, but when I've got the front plate on it, it's just not, the shoulder is too close to the pins. So ideally I need a longer key. But for the purpose of this, it does work. Yeah, here I'm just filing down the shoulder on it, just so that it fits in lock and we know that it actually works while it's in place. If it went straight forward, it won't be my channel. 9 times out of 10 something goes wrong. Obviously I sped this video up just so you won't spending half an hour watching me file it down, but as you can see there, it locks, it unlocks, and it works as should do. So yeah, these are the pins I used. Kind of simple pins, nothing too complicated on it. You got T-pins, you've got what I believe are called mushroom pins, you've got some with serrations on, and some spool. It's just normal pins you'd put in any challenge lock. Some can be more difficult. These are alright for what we use it for. Don't forget guys, drop us a like and a subscribe, you know, they are free, and it's nice to be supported. I'll see you next time. Bye!